viewers, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Women Now. And today we are going to talk about health. Well, we all grew up knowing health is wealth, but do we really care about it as much? Do we know what we're putting in our mouth? Do we care to read the labels before we get attracted to these beautifully designed products that are out there in the shelf? Do we know the real truth behind the long shelf life food? We are going to talk about GMO and the poison behind GMO.
Unlabeled, unassuming, untested. Ever since the agrochemical tomato called Flavor Saver was deemed fit for human consumption in 1994, there has been a surge of genetically modified foods onto our supermarket shelves. And unlike Europe, there is no mandate in the US for food companies to label products that contain what are known as genetically modified organisms. Rice, corn, peas, soy, potatoes, squash, zucchini, salmon, and milk. All of these foods sit innocently on our grocery shelves next to their organic counterparts. They look the same, smell the same, and even taste the same. But 60% of food that we eat every day has a potentially dangerous secret lurking in its DNA. Growth defects, infertility, disease, and allergies have all been linked to the creation and consumption of genetically engineered food. But somehow, these issues have been swept aside. Questions we should be asking, like where does my food come from and how safe is it, have been buried in the booming new GM food industry. What is GM food? Well, genetically modified food is crops, plants and animals whose DNA has been altered for agricultural and nutritional reasons.
Genetically engineered foods have deeply infiltrated the American food supply. Almost 90% of crops like corn, soybeans, canola, and sugar beets grown in the United States are now genetically modified. Genetic engineering promises increased crop yields, lower costs for farmers, and reduced use of herbicides. But are these goals really being achieved? Are you benefiting from genetically engineered crops or paying a dear price for you and your children's future? It's time for an awakening. Learn to separate the truths from the myths on genetic engineering.
Well, viewers, welcome back to Chalk Talk with lovely Manish and Samanjana. We are going to talk about GMO today, but did you know that 1 out of 5 individuals actually start the new year, just like 2015, saying that they're going to eat healthy, they're going to stay healthy for that year. But how many of them drop?
80%.
80%. And I think both of you are included in it.
So
let me start
totally.
by asking you, what did you eat for breakfast today?
The truth or what I should have had?
No, the truth.
The truth was I had pancakes with Aunt Jemima syrup, and I had turkey bacon to wrap it up, and I had cranberry and pomegranate juice and 1 vitamin E and D tablet, 5,000 units.
So, are you that bad?
That was my breakfast. That was my breakfast today.
But to be very honest, ever since I had this...
You just gave me a list of heart attack. If you want a heart attack, that's what you eat
A
for
pancake?
breakfast. Of course.
Come on.
It's nothing but carb.
Well, the turkey bacon was protein.
Do you know, did you read the label?
On the box?
Turkey bacon.
But to be honest, yes, I mean, ever since I had the baby, I was like totally going nuts about this organic food, you know. We'll spend hours in Whole Foods reading every minute details and lines about the labeling, you know, those numbers, and it can get pretty overwhelming, but all for a good cause, I believe. You know, I think it's time that we should be more conscious about healthy eating and healthy living.
As Indians moving from India to here, where we're used to very restrictive home-cooked food, either mother cooks or grandmom cooks or somebody comes home and cooks. We're not used to just going in the store and picking something which is frozen, easy to eat, lack of time. So when we come over here and we find all these attractive products on the shelf, which is going to sound very easy and healthy and all of that, we get drawn towards that. So we as immigrants and Indians have a double problem of not recognizing the labels or not reading the labels and being not conscious about what they put in their mouth. I've heard that most people gain between 10 to 20 pounds in the first year after they come from India. And that is a fact. And, you know, I am a victim of that as well. Unless you get really conscious toxics behind GMO, you're going to tell us a little bit more because you're the one who did all the research on that.
The GMOs, you know, what is a GMO in the first place? I mean, it's a genetically modified organisms, you know, which we kind of cultivate in order to combat pesticides and things like that.
With the debate with GMOs, how do we know if it's GMO or not and if it's good or bad? I kind of don't understand that whole deal.
Right. So you have this labeling when you go to the farmer's market or the grocery store. There are this 5-digit number. If it starts with 9, that means it's an organic product which does not is not being genetically modified, no GMO. And if it starts with 8, that 5-digit number, that means it is being genetically modified. So that is something you need to look at.
Today, the GM food industry makes $85 billion in the US market alone. Food companies and the media argue that the GMO revolution is the answer to our modern agricultural problems.
The thing, you know, the bigger, larger, quicker, faster way to grow is GMO in a smaller space, and that's why they're cheap. I mean, you could get a GMO product for $1 in a dollar menu as opposed to going and getting organic stuff from any other store for more expensive products. But at the same time, in the longer run, you're going to save a lot because you're not going to spend all that money treating yourself for diseases such as heart attack and all of that.
One scary possibility that could occur from eating these foods is that we become susceptible to DNA-related diseases. Like push-ties rats and their cancerous intestines, there's a chance that similar DNA mutations could also occur in humans from eating GM foods. And this could cause irreversible genetic damage to our bodies. And the terrifying part about all this is that in the USA, we have no idea when we're shoveling these frankenfoods into our mouths. But if you're lucky enough to avoid a GM cancer scare, there are still allergies to worry about. The new proteins added to crops like soybean have been linked to an increase in serious food allergies, which can cause rash, diarrhea, difficulty breathing. The crop's DNA can make it into your own and integrate itself into your genetic makeup. This means that it could be years since you last drank GM soy milk, but you could still suffer from the nasty symptoms caused by its allergenic protein. This would leave us totally vulnerable to the dangers of genetically modified food, where every mouthful is a gamble with our life.
So I think ideally go check the product before you buy, see the label that she explained, and I'm going to read you a few things that you might want to consider. Avoid eating processed food, drink only certified organic food, much greens and vegetables as possible, get from the local market. Well, viewers, I hope you learned a little bit from the last segment about GMO and what you need to avoid. Now we are going to take you to Farmers Market with Anoop in her segment of Escapades.